Welcome to Jitasa University, where our goal is to empower nonprofits through free educational content. These short videos are all provided by trusted partners within our network as well, so each topic will be relevant to every organization, regardless of size. Let's dive right in. This month, we're featuring Gabby, Product Marketing Manager at Daytaro, a fundraising platform that helps nonprofits unlock the full potential of their CRM data. They use AI to analyze donor interactions and optimize messaging, channels, and timing, from building targeted audience segments to identifying hidden fundraising opportunities. Let's pass things over to Gabby and get started with the content.
Hey everybody, I'm Gabby here from Daytaro, and I am super excited to be here talking with you today about how to bring AI into your fundraising program in order to increase the level of personalization that you're able to bring to your donor experiences. We really wanted to have this conversation today because I probably don't have to tell any of you that AI has been the hot topic for at least a year. Every conference that I go to, every nonprofit message board, email, listserv, everyone's aware that this new-ish technology is out there, and everyone wants to figure out what is hype, what is real, and how do I take that real stuff and actually use it in a meaningful way in my fundraising program. So if that sounds like you, hopefully this short session will help demystify the technology, what you can use it for, and give you some concrete ways that you can start implementing this today to make your own internal processes easier and to deliver better, more personalized experiences to your donors. So without further ado, first, I'm going to give some just high-level context for fundraising personalization, where we're at right now, why this is so important, and where technology is moving. So this is probably not news to anyone watching this if you are in the world of nonprofit fundraising, particularly in the US, but also globally. This phenomenon has been going on for over 20 years. We are seeing the steady decline of the number of donors participating in everyday individual giving. Over the last 2 decades, the number of US households that donate to nonprofits has dropped by 20%. So a really significant number of donors that were giving at one point that have just been lost or at least have lapsed for quite a while. And this is affecting these direct marketing and individual giving channels that we invest a lot of time and effort into, like direct mail, telemarketing, and email. We see the impacts. We see slight drops in revenue in those channels. And these numbers here from the most recent M&R benchmarks report, a great place to find some of that data on how digital and direct marketing channels are performing. So for as long as I've been in fundraising, which is a little over 10 years, this has been a topic that we've been talking about. How do we get these donors back? Why did they leave? What are we doing about this? And so this is where we come to personalization. And one of the reasons that this, the decline in the number of donors hasn't caused a huge crisis for the nonprofit sector is because we're still able to generate revenue. We have a solid base of philanthropists and major donors who get really intense one-on-one cultivation and stewardship and very personalized experiences. And that effort pays off. And so we've made up for the decline in small individual donors by replacing them with larger gifts from a smaller number of donors who are able to receive really personalized experiences. And so when we're in a one-on-one context, it's really easy to personalize and take this donor on the screen. Now, if we look at the things that we know about her in the orange, I can look at her donor record in my CRM or my marketing platform, whatever platform you're using, and notice a couple things about her. And in this one-on-one context, make some inferences about who she is. So if she's often clicking on links in our email newsletter, I know that she's engaged in the digital sphere. I can also look at which emails she's clicking on and get an idea of what motivates her, what drove her to start engaging with this organization, why she cares about the issue. So if I'm an animal shelter and I'm seeing that she really cares about dogs and puppies, but doesn't click so much on cats or reptiles or small mammals, I know that if I were to approach her in a one-on-one setting, I would start by talking about our programs that are focused on dog rescues and dog adoptions. And finally, looking at her trajectory, if I see that she's given multiple single gifts, that's a clue to me that she might be a potential candidate for becoming a sustainer and opting into monthly giving, where she can continue that ongoing support in a way that's more convenient for her because she can just turn it on, know that she's supporting us every month without having to come back and manually make that gift. So we all understand the concept of personalization. Again, it's a lot easier to do in that one-on-one context, which is what we deliver to our major donors and those really high touch relationships. The issue with all of everybody else in the world is how do we do this at scale? None of us have time to go into our CRM and review every single donor's individual history, look at all of their interactions and transactions, figure out what the best next step is for them, and then implement thousands of different fundraising plans, right? This is where we get lost. And so we get backed into these one-to-many approaches that we often rely on, where we're starting with a campaign that we want to run and sending it out to everyone or segments of people in the database and hoping that it resonates with them. And so when we look at the evolution of fundraising campaigns, this is kind of where we are today. Most of us have moved beyond where we started with this, what we call spray and pray approach, where you just pull every single email or email address that you have access to, every single address that you could mail, and send something to everyone and hope that it works, right? It works a little bit. Some people are probably going to respond to that, but we know that that's not the most effective way to fundraise. Different messages are going to are going to resonate better with different groups of people. And so most nonprofits are here in the second step, where we're doing some level of manual personalization and segmentation. And for most of us who are here in the trenches doing the work, we know that we want to be doing more, but it takes a lot of work and effort, right? Building really complex queries in your CRM, trying to pull in manually, okay, out of our past 20 email newsletters, who clicked on one of these 5 links, plus all of the traditional segmentation factors, which would often be the recency of how soon someone has given, the frequency, how often they come back and give, and the value, how much they're giving. That's going to be your traditional segmentation. It takes a lot of work, sometimes even to get those numbers well, but especially if you try to add on additional things, you can spend hours building a really complex list. And that's just one list, right? That's one group of people, and then you got to replicate that for a bunch of different people. So we are trying, and we're putting a lot of time and effort into building out this manual personalization. Where we're moving to is these last 2 steps, steps 3 and 4. Step 4, this is the holy grail, right? One-on-one donor experiences for every single donor. Nobody's here yet, and the technology isn't really quite there to support this yet. This is where we want to go. This is our North Star. But right now, we're really looking at moving from the second phase to the third phase and getting into more effective and more automated personalization. And this is where AI really comes in and helps you move beyond that struggle with manual segmentation and personalization to something that's able to be a lot more easy for you, because machines are doing the things that they're good at, which is crunching all of that data and telling you what effective strategy is going to be. And we'll get into how that works in a minute. But ultimately, it just kind of in summary, when we look at the manual segmentation that we have access to today, particularly what we call RFM or RFV segmentation, that recency, frequency, and value, it's better than nothing, right? It's better than the spray and pray where we're talking to everyone about the same thing, but it's also very limited. It's grouping people together based on really limited factors and ignoring the bigger picture, and often means we're leaving out people who really should be getting those messages. Or we're sending people messages that are pretty good, but not quite exactly what they're hoping to get from us. Um, and this is kind of my illustration of that, is that we, as fundraisers and marketers, we're not talking to everybody individually. We are talking to groups of people, but it's really important to be aware that every single donor is on their own unique journey, and we're constantly collecting more data about them and learning more about them through the ways that they interact with us. Every time that they are browsing the website and they click on something, or they open an email, or they respond to a phone call or a mailer, we learn a little more about them, but often we're not able to actually process that data in a way that allows us to change the trajectory of how we're engaging them and respond effectively. And that, again, this is what we're approaching the point that technology can actually help us achieve this level of personalization. So let's talk about what AI can do for you and how we can actually unlock this audience first fundraising approach with AI. Now, this is really helpful for me and hopefully for you too, to think about two different types of AI. And this is where discussions about how to use AI in fundraising can get a little confused. So there's generative AI, and this you're probably familiar with. This is going to be things like your chat GPTs, right? When you think generative, think words and images and creation. It's that creative kind of thing. Predictive AI, this is Dataro's bread and butter, although we do a little bit of both. Predictive AI, think data, data models, being able to predict the future based on the trends we've seen from data in the past. And this is really where it takes a little more effort to get started using it, unlike ChatGPT, where you can basically start using that today. But the predictive AI space is where you're really going to start to see huge gains in efficiency and personalization for your fundraising program. So just to dive into that a little more, for generative AI input, you're thinking language, words, you're putting that in. ChatGPT, DALL-E is another example. When you see those images generated, I know they're getting a lot better. I know early on there's a lot of people with 7 fingers. Now it's getting harder to parse through what's real and what is AI. Those things where you're putting words into a system and getting a creative output, that's your generative AI. So some places that you might be using generative AI in fundraising are content focused. When you're drafting, when you're drafting an email series, when you are outlining a structure of a story you want to tell, brainstorming, all of that, that's a place that you can be using generative AI. Predictive AI is great on its own, and when used in tandem with generative AI, this is where the input is going to be data, right? And so this is not going to be you manually typing data into something. This is done through platforms like Dataro or like custom built models, which are able to take the data straight from your CRM and output predictions and propensities, which will tell you the likelihood of someone taking a future action based on their previous action. So think of this one as pattern analysis, the ability to detect trends in your really large data sets. So some things that you can do with the predictive AI is answer questions about how to approach your donors and your fundraising. Who are the people who are going to say yes to this direct mail appeal? Can I only email them and not spend the money emailing people who are going to immediately throw it in the trash? What is the best amount to ask each donor for that is going to hit that sweet spot where it's not too low and we've left money on the table, but it's not too high that it's going to scare them off? That's the kind of things that predictive AI can tell us based on the data. So when we look at AI-powered audience building and personalization, this is what allows us to move into that audience first space where, similar to thinking back to that one-on-one personalization, rather than starting with my idea of a campaign, I start by looking at the donor and saying, okay, I can tell that this is what interests her, so I'm going to move based on that. Um, with predictive AI powered audience building, we can really scale that level of personalization to much larger groups of people with AI's ability to say, all right, we've ingested all of this data, analyzed it, and identified the groups of donors who are ready for different asks all right now. they might diverge after that. We might ask all of them to upgrade to becoming sustainers, and some of them might say yes. Some of them might take a different action and we'll put them on a different path. But AI is what allows us to do that and to really see our donors as individuals based on, like what you see here. Likelihood of responding to direct mail. Maybe it's high. We're definitely going to include them. Maybe it's low. Let's send them a phone call or an email instead. Do we want to talk to them about monthly giving? Do we want to talk to them about planned giving? All of the different questions that we consider every day as fundraisers and marketers, the data has the answers. We just, without the help of models and AI, really lack the ability to understand the scale of data that lives within our databases. So yeah, to recap, AI is really here to help you put your donors first. And this is where I say AI helps unlock those human elements of fundraising, that human connection that we want to build with everyone about our shared interest in the mission and the cause that we're working toward. AI is really just taking the fundraising processes that we already know, figuring out who to ask, what to ask for, when to ask them, the right donor, the right time, and the right channel. We've all heard these mantras. AI allows us to just bring a more data-driven approach to that and a more personalized approach where every single donor can have this level of analysis done to them, which previously was really only easy in a one-on-one setting. So with AI, we're able to unlock just a lot more precise segmentation and run more targeted campaigns so that every donor really feels like when they open your mail piece, when they get the phone call, when they open their email, they feel like this was written specifically for them. Like you somehow just knew that that was the message that they were looking for, that that is the issue that they care about, that is going to be the most convenient way for them to give, that your ask really landed, and they're going to be thrilled to say yes to it because they want to be involved. That's what we're unlocking with the power of AI. So what can AI do for you today? This is a little image of some of Dataro's capabilities. There are also other tools out there to explore. Definitely, do your shopping and your due diligence when you're looking to bring AI into your fundraising stack. But just for a concrete example of what it can look like for your fundraising program when you implement an AI tool, that segmentation process gets way faster, right? Rather than manually trying to identify and compile all of the factors that might make someone a good candidate for converting to monthly giving, the AI can evaluate all of your data and instantly segment that audience for you and identify that opportunity and say, there's a bunch of people in your database who are great candidates for an ask to upgrade to monthly giving. So put together a campaign for them. Now we can also bring some of that generative AI in, right? Especially when you have beyond ChatGPT, a generative AI tool that's connected to your data and can not only generate content based on a prompt, but actually generate content tailored toward the needs and the preferences of that specific audience. That really takes that AI generated copy to the next level, when you're bringing in knowledge of who your donors are and what they're looking to hear from you. And then there's a level of data analysis in your reporting and benchmarking that AI can also really help with, forecasting what future revenue is going to look like, benchmarking your fundraising against other organizations, really from start to finish in creating a campaign. Bringing in AI is just about optimizing the processes that you're already doing so that you can save time, have an easier time running the campaigns you want to run, and deliver a lot better, more personalized, more engaging experiences for your donors so that we see less of this donor disengagement, and the real struggle with retention that we've been seeing for the past decades. That was a high level overview. There is a lot more that we could talk about AI, but I think I'm probably about done with my time. So you will get our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us. And thank you for listening today.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Gabby. Appreciate all the content. That was a lot of great information in there. I just had a few questions that came up. First one here comes about like donor data. Do you have any tips on how organizations can keep their data clean before they dive into these tools? Like, is there any best practices for that?
Great question. Data hygiene. Yeah, it's the bane of everyone's existence, right? There are, I would say no easy answers to that, but I will say, from my perspective, nobody has perfect data. I've worked with, probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of nonprofits at this point in my career, and I've never seen someone come in with the perfect clean database. So don't let fear of that hold you back from working with this. There's actually some cool AI tools. I know Daytaro has been working on developing some tools to make it easier to identify and resolve duplicates. So there are tools out there to help with that. A big thing is just going to be integrations. We see all over the place. If your data is living in different systems that aren't able to talk to each other, you get a really fragmented picture of your donors. So that's another great reason to be considering a tool like Daytaro or a data warehouse. If your tools don't talk to each other, get that data into the same place where you can get that 360 view of your donors, and then start from there.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. And another question that came up was, do you have any best practices for keeping the content that you make authentic when using AI? Because I've seen it personally, like you can kind of tell that AI wrote it, or do you have any tips for that, making it more authentic for, especially, for someone, if you're trying to contact a donor, they probably don't want to see something that doesn't look too, that it looks real.
Yeah, absolutely. I have strong feelings about this as somebody who's in a writing and communication based profession, as a lot of nonprofit fundraisers and marketers are as well. Yeah, we feel strongly about our ability to craft narratives and really connect with people. And I think of AI as a tool to help us get past that first step where you're staring at a blank document and trying to figure out, I want to write the best email ever, right? Like, I want everyone to read this and instantly connect with this cause and want to get involved. And once you get going, it's great. It's really that first step of getting something on paper that takes so long. It takes a lot of time. It's stressful. It's the least fun part of the process. So when we talk about generating content with AI, I always am going to look at it as a first draft. And for anybody who works with writers, when you're an editor, it's easier to immediately look at something and say, like, I like that. I don't like that. Let's replace it with something else. That's where AI comes in. That's your content writer who is giving you something to start with so that you can immediately get your gears turning on identifying what works, identifying what doesn't work, and replacing that with something else. So I always recommend taking a combined approach. Yeah, nobody wants fully AI generated content, at least at the stage where AI is right now. But it can really help speed up the process, and especially when we're looking at digital marketing campaigns, we really want to be segmenting the list. And so I could have one campaign to, convert one-time donors to monthly donors. But I really want to segment that into like 6 different mini campaigns where I'm emailing, my donors who care most about dogs, one thing, and my donors who care most about cats, another thing, or, maybe regionally based. My donors in the Southeast care about different things and the donors in the Northwest. Whatever those factors are, I want to increase the capacity to do that, because if I'm trying to achieve that level of personalization, then I have to also write 6 different emails and go through that whole process again and again. So I look at AI as really a great tool for speeding up the process, but you absolutely still want to have the human component to it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that was all the questions that came up. But yeah, appreciate you, Gabby, taking the time, and hope to have you and Daytaro on again in the future.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alex. It's an honor to be here.
Thanks for watching. We hope you gained valuable insights into AI-driven fundraising and how it can help optimize donor engagement, personalize campaigns, and uncover new fundraising opportunities. If you had a question for the Daytaro team that did not get answered, or would like to chat about their services, feel free to reach out using the email or link provided on the screen. Thanks again, and we will see you next time.